Do you ever wish you could write a book but hold back thinking, well, I don't have any qualifications, I don't have any credentials, I don't have anything to say? Well, that was my mentality before writing Join Me Today. But then I find that people ask me for advice. Like they will ask me, so how do you keep your skin looking so good? How is it you can have a comfortable life, being a single mother for so many years? How is it that you were able to buy a house all by yourself? People ask me these things. And so that kind of motivated me to start posting on Instagram. I started my own skincare product, and I was like, why keep my recipes to myself? I'll just sell the product. And then with the book, I decided to make the book because this person told me, you have experiences, you have survived many challenges, you are still a happy person despite the losses in my family, and I've accomplished things too as well. I have had my own business back in my early 20s. I've completed my education. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting. I learned to swim. I learned to ride a bike. I've overcome some fears. I've accomplished some of my dreams, like going to Europe and going to the five countries that I wanted to visit. So yes, I do have the qualifications of life, and I was also blessed with a very wise mother who gave me wonderful advice. And unfortunately, I lost my mother when I was 21, but the good thing was that I got to acquire her wisdom and her skills, and I can pass them on to those people that don't have that privilege. So I'm going to share a lot of my mother's wisdom, and I'm also going to share my wisdom as far as how I have survived in California, on how to go about preparing for your future financially, how to prepare to get a house of your dreams, how to get your education if that's what you want, and how to acquire friends that will help you out in life. And I will share with you everything that has worked for me and that continues to work. And I can also share with you the challenges that I've had and how I overcame them, and how I am preparing right now at this moment for my future, because I am 54. I plan to live all the way to 94 to 104 as long as I'm healthy and sane. So I'm going to share with you how I'm preparing for that as well. So I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. My background has influenced so many of my decisions up to the day. My mother was abused physically by her husband, very extreme abuse. And so by the time she was expecting me, she moved away from him as far as she could. So she went to Mexico City, and that's the reason I was born in Mexico City. And then she had to leave me behind 1 year or so. I don't remember exactly, but she left behind her baby to come to the United States, and she came to California. So once in California, she found a place to live, she got her job, and eventually she was able to bring all her 7 kids with her. And so that's quite admirable. And then she eventually got a house in Escondido. And so we grew up most of my childhood in Escondido, but I still have very clear memories of growing up in Vista. my mother came across an Italian family. That's why I love Italian. I love the language, the food. So she came across this Italian family that opened their doors to her and her family, and they helped her out for the first years here. And then in Escondido, we got our house on Washington. It was a humble house, but it was our house with a backyard. And hey, if my mom could buy a house, I could buy a house. Because I remember when I was young, I would look at magazines, real estate magazines, and I would pick out my house and looking at the prices, $500,000 for a beautiful house. And I was like, that's an insane price, because back then the houses were like 80,000. And it's incredible that eventually I did buy a house that was 450,000. So yes, it's gonna happen. Sooner or later, it will happen. And then, I didn't even know we were poor growing up, because we always had something to eat in the refrigerator, even if it was just rice and beans. There was always food in the house. So that really helped out. I don't think I ever had a hard time as far as my clothes, because my mother had the skill of making clothes. She was a seamstress, not just a seamstress. She was more than a seamstress. She could make bridal gowns, mariachi suit. She could make anything. And so she passed that skill on to me. And I grew up with 4 older sisters and 2 brothers. And they all spoiled me. And of course, I always had so many Christmas gifts, even if there was just a sack of marbles. It was special. And I think that growing up cherished like that made my self-esteem pretty good self-esteem, feeling that love, that kindness from my brothers and sisters. Although they were not always kind, I did have some bullying going around, but that's fine, because once I encountered it in school, I knew how to handle it, right? And then, so I grew up with them. I told my mother I wanted to follow in her footsteps and have my bridal business. And of course, she said, no, don't do that. You go to school and get a degree, because sewing is too hard and it's not appreciated. But regardless of that advice, I would watch her and I pushed her to teach me how to sew. And I did go to fashion design school. I almost got my associate's degree in fashion design, but I didn't go with it. I didn't finish it, because by the time, around that time, I was 20, 21, and my mother was very sick, and I just wanted to spend my time with her. And so I dropped out of school, and I just begged her to teach me what she knew, and so she did. She dedicated her last months of life to showing me what she knew. And that's how I got into the bridal shop business. I could make anything from scratch, any bridal gown. And then, but I still had that little thing in my head of what she told me. Go to school, get a degree. And so I did. Went back to school just to give her that satisfaction, although she wasn't around yet anymore. And I got my degree in accounting. Very difficult. Very difficult degree. And even right now, I still like, how did I even do that? I had to take calculus 3 times. Anyways. And then got a job where I attempted to open a bridal shop again, but I just couldn't handle it, because I got a full-time job that just sucked me in. And then by that time, I had my little baby girl, and her dad wasn't around. But anyways, so I had to take care of my little girl, finish my bachelor's degree, and then I started working. So thank God I got this job right away. But in the meantime, while I was in school, I did have my skill of sewing, and so doing alterations and working at bridal shops, helped me get through school. So that's something I can share on how skills can get you through life in addition to a regular job. And then eventually I met my second husband, and I had my little boy. Is my boy Rodolfo, who's now almost 18. And anyways, that was good marriage while it lasted. And we move on. We move on, and we learn from those relationships, and with each relationship that went bad, the next one is gonna get better, because you're learning from your mistakes. You're learning to become a better person. And I am the kind of person that I'm an avid reader. I like to read at least one book a week, or even if I don't read a new book, I like to go back to my old books. And as we get older, we're gonna start losing family members, and it gets very depressing. And so that's one reason that I wrote this book, Join Me Today, because I was looking for consolation in books, because so many people have already gone through same situation. And so I was looking for my consolation through books, and I gathered as much as I could, and I put it into this book, and it has helped me a lot, and it continues to help me. Because yes, we do get nostalgic. A certain song comes up, and then we get all nostalgic. And so I remember, to always be grateful for what I did have. And so that's one of my chapters in here on gratitude. So there it is. Those are my qualifications for writing a book. I think that, looking back into my life, growing up poor, because in reality we were poor, and I just didn't see it at the moment. Growing up poor, paying for your education, providing for your kids, not letting them go through the same poverty that you did, buying your house, doing things that you always wished for, and how to accomplish that, how to prepare financially, and all this preparation. People can call you stingy, they can call you weird, crazy, but all of this is for our future. And if we know we're gonna be prepared, we know how to handle a situation, you live a more peaceful life. Like right now, I am peaceful that this Paula right now is preparing the future of Paula at 94. So when Paula is 94 years old, she's gonna have her monthly income coming in. I'm not gonna have to worry about asking my kids for money. 94-year-old Paula will have someone that comes in and cook her food and clean her house, and that way I can just focus on spoiling my grandkids, drawing, doing my art, creating more videos, enjoying my garden from the trees that I planted this year, right? So yes, that is what I'm gonna do moving forward, sharing my life, my experiences, and as it progresses as well, I will share that with you on how I continue to pursue my goals and ambitions, and hopefully my system works for you. Thank you.